we want to protect our employees because our employees matter to us. That's number one. But there is also reason, just from a dollar and cents, to really say, should we be digging further into safety? Should we make it a stronger part of our culture? And the answer is, without a doubt, yes.
You're listening to the How Manufacturers Improve podcast, hosted by me, Kirby Sneen with the Manufacturers Alliance. If you've ever wondered how some manufacturing leaders have become so successful, then you're in the right place. In each episode, we cover the successes and lessons learned of industry leaders, and then I break it all down into actionable insights in our newsletter. This episode is all about preventing claims that cost manufacturers the most and features Steve Chismar and Zach Upgren with North Risk Partners. Enjoy. Well, Steve, Zach, super excited to have you on the podcast to talk about preventing claims that cost the most. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Well, thanks for having us, Kirby. Good to be here.
Kirby, thrilled to be here. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into, a handful of questions. Of course, talk about what costs manufacturers the most, talk about underestimating risk, want to talk about safety cultures, want to talk about operational improvements, cyber threats, like the whole 9 yards. So excited to just see how far we can go and how deep we can go in the next 25, 30 minutes. So let's start here. Wanted to ask you about this one. This is actually something that I'll get asked often. What insurance claims do you think cost manufacturers the most? But then if you could just elaborate on the why for me.
Yeah, excellent question. And I think a great place to start is work comp. So lost time work comp claims. So let's break that down. A work comp claim is going to be an injury that an employee sustains while on the job. And if we look at the types, there are really three basic types. There's incident only. Okay, I twisted my knee, my elbow, but I don't seek medical attention. There's medical only. I have to go to a third party, but I'm back to work within a couple days. And then the last one, lost time, which we want to avoid, means I miss multiple days of work. And why that really matters to every employer is the fact that we all have safety scorecards. And it's from either the Rating Bureau or the state of Minnesota. It's called a work comp experience mod. And the variance in your work comp experience mod doesn't change from carrier to carrier. It's fixed. And so to go back just for a second, our lost time claims, 100% of the cost is going to count against us. Medical only 30% is going to count against us. Incident only isn't going to. So let's just talk some real numbers for a second. I was just visiting with a client, working with their leadership team, and we were looking strategically between their best case work comp mod and their worst case work comp mod. But what was the delta on true annual dollars? And for them, it's well over $100,000. So from the start point, we want to protect our employees because our employees matter to us. That's number one. But there is also reason, just from a dollar and cents, to really say, should we be digging further into safety? Should we make it a stronger part of our culture? And the answer is, without a doubt, yes.
I think of, so here we are, spring of 26, just coming out of winter. I think of the slips and trips and falls. That's kind of an example of like a level one, right? You mentioned the 3 levels.
Yes.
So we'll see less of those, thankfully. Any examples of like a level 2 or a level 3?
Yeah, absolutely. So that level 2 may be, I'm supposed to be wearing my PPE, and for whatever reason that day I take my glasses off, I get something in my eye, I'm going to have to seek medical treatment. I go in, but I'm back the next day. And maybe my job is modified until I'm back to my regular scheduled duties. So that's a level 2.
Where there was no lost time or minimal lost time?
Minimal lost time. So I could miss up to 3 days, and it's still medical only.
Yep.
The big difference now moving from 2 to 3 is I require surgery or I'm in a boot. Mm-hmm. And instead of coming back within the first 3 days, I've been now gone beyond that 3-day mark. And now that's a lost time claim. And that completely changes the trajectory of the calculation for that.
So then, because the math and the facts matter, but before we get into that, maybe geek out on variances, examples of level 3, like you broke your leg?
Yeah, I've had where maybe it's an incident involving a forklift, or it's an incident involving a piece of machinery and an employee bypassed a guard. So there's multiple instances where in all of the U.S. that there'll be well over 1 million lost time claims recorded every single year, and you're talking billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything that you would add that you've seen? Like I've seen the box cutters is a common one that I've seen. Sometimes that could be level 1 or level 2.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just going to talk about outside of just work comp, some of the biggest claims that we're seeing, and I want to touch on is the cyber liability claims that we're seeing as well.
Yeah.
If you want to look over just the last 5 years in terms of trends of claims, cyber liability compared to the property claims, liability claims, even work comp claims, there's been no type of claim that's grown faster in terms of just frequency and severity than cyber liability claims over the last half decade. And the big thing there, and just kind of talking about, why those claims are growing the way they are and why they're so costly is I think these bad actors are looking at the manufacturing industry and they know that, they can look at it and go, if we can take down the production capacity of manufacturers, that urgency is going to be there.
Yep.
Right. So I like to compare it to, I'm not saying the risk in the construction industry for cyber liability is any less, but these bad actors and these hackers look at a manufacturer and go, if I can breach their systems and I can lock down their systems, that's day one that they need to be up and running. Right? You lose an hour, how much income are you losing? You lose in a day or two. So, from a cyber liability side, it's huge because they know, especially in the manufacturing industry, that urgency is going to be there, and that specifically what we call like ransomware, where a hacker breaches a system and they demand payment before they can get back up and running. That urgency is just going to be so much higher than what you see in any other industry. So that's another one outside of work comp that is really big for this industry.
There's transportation. Or there's construction going on by my house in between my house and work. And whether it's M.N. S. You name it, it's like if it cost them a week or two, it'd be like no big deal.
Absolutely.
Versus the production side where we're measuring hour by hour output and the variances there and schedule adherence and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good point you raised. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. And I mean, if you just look at, stories are better than facts, but if you just want to look in 2025, I think a quarter of all the cyber liability claims came in that manufacturing industry. So if you look at that and they look at it and go, it's one industry they're targeting, and it's a big deal in terms of just number of claims, but the severity has gone up as well.
Why do you think manufacturers underestimate some of the risk factors that are out there? Like you tour any facility and you look at some of the software and you're like, this is still running on Windows XP. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
What's up?
Just broadly speaking, I think a big thing for that is just it's human nature, right? So there's a lot of the thinking of it's just never happened to us kind of thinking. Obviously on the cyber side, that's gone up. So we're hearing more about these claims, but just looking at all types of claims, it's, humans tend to just look at what happened in the past. And if it's never happened to them, they're going to think things are going okay, and that they're just going to underestimate it. And then what's really scary is that if it's never happened to them, but they don't have the safety protocols in place, so they might not be doing the right things, but they're avoiding large claims, that's kind of the double whammy then, right? So it's I think it just kind of anchors back to, humans, just human nature, the way we're wired. We look at past experiences and it's just really that it's never happened to us thinking, which can be kind of scary.
So I appreciate you going deep. Like that was a deep answer. I think 100% legit. I agree with you. And without getting into any fear mongering, how can we wake people up?
I mean, that's our job, right? It's our jobs to be that advisor, and to we can't, like you said, we don't want to fearmonger, and we don't want to shove insurance down their throats and really make them insurance poor. But at the same time, it's our job to help them. The way we look at it is help them make a really good decision, right? And how do we do that is to educate them, show them examples, what's happening in the industry, and just let them make that decision. But I think it also goes back to they might not even know about it too, right? So if they're not working with someone that, typically they're not going to move forward if they don't understand something, and if they don't really understand on how a certain cyber liability works, they're probably not going to move forward with it.
Yeah, and I guess I would just I would jump in to say knowledge is power. We all understand that. But even further than that, typically the people that make the best decisions are those with most of the information. So it's really, to Zach's point, it's our job as being a partner to help our clients understand what's available, what is possible, what are other businesses struggling with, how are they solving it, and all of that fits together.
How do you go from this is possible, which I think is kind of high level, to your point, you're like, well, maybe it's happened to some other people, to know this is plausible?
Yeah, great question. And right now, if you were to talk to 10 manufacturers, I would venture to guess 5 of them have either directly dealt with this or they know somebody directly who has dealt with this. I mean, those are the kind of numbers right now from a pure cyber liability standpoint that we're seeing just in our day-to-day conversations with not only our clients, but with prospective clients.
So back to the peer-to-peer component, they're going to talk to their peers. They're going to wind up talking to someone that's been through it and said, I wish I wouldn't have, I should have done this, and I hope the best for you. Here's what I'd recommend. And that's where those relationships, those peer-to-peer relationships can really help kick in. It's good. Yeah,
absolutely. And most of our clients and a lot of manufacturers out there are working with a third-party IT firm. And we encourage them. We share statistics of what's going on in the marketplace, and we ask them to reach out to their partners and have them look at some of their internal policies and procedures and see if there are vulnerabilities that they don't know about, kind of back to Zach's point, that education piece. And yes, you don't know what you don't know. And I think it's very easy to get in just the day-to-day routines of the priorities we have to take care of that are right in front of us. This isn't currently a fire, so we don't want to spend a bunch of time in that. But what we really try to tell clients, we want to shift away from this is something we're spending time with or for, to this is an investment. This is an investment in our employee safety. This is an investment in the culture of the company. This is an investment in the financial security of the company. It's really that mind shift that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it makes me think about some good resources to help do the assessment, do the audit, see where the risk and vulnerability is. Angie Whitkey, just to name drop at BlueNet, had been really resourceful. Any other names that you would drop that could help get into some of those technical weeds there?
Well, I mean, any of the cyber insurance carriers that say you do have a policy in place, or maybe you're even quoting it. The nice thing just on cyber is that they can give you a lot of data up front, just like the guy that you mentioned. So that helps. So they can do almost like an audit. It's even part of their quoting the underwriter's quoting process to show you where the vulnerabilities are, right? So that really helps in getting them to see, oh wow, okay, I thought things were fine, but looking at maybe there's some things on the email compromise, or maybe multi-factor authentication, things like that they can see on paper. It's specific to their company, that it's real to them. And I think when it is specific to them and they see that, they go, oh wow, maybe I wasn't as had everything up to par as I originally thought.
So I want to go back to kind of the safety culture aspect of the conversation, talk about workers' comp, level 1, 2, 3, more of all the above. Yeah, I was thinking just 2 and 3, but really all the above, because we've got a lot of listeners, a lot of the plant managers, ops managers out there that are going to say, hey, safety first, safety always, it's number one. and most of them do it. I'm safe behind the microphone here in the studio. Most of them do it, but the reality is that some don't. And so, what do you think should be done or could be done to help develop that safety culture that I know they really do want, so that they can develop and act towards it?
It's an excellent question. In my experience, it's got to start with leadership. Leadership has to be bought in. If leadership is not 100% bought in the concept, then it's going to die on the vine. It's just the reality of it. But when a company has a proactive approach, leadership buys in, it's part of the strategic business plan, then we have an avenue to have a constant conversation. It's part of the safety committee. It's part of leadership meetings. We're talking about near-miss reporting and accident investigations, and everything is feeding into itself to drive the result that we want.
I like it. So, the thing about safety cultures is that I wonder to what extent it hits that leader in the back pocket, financially, like with their bonus, and if their bonus is at stake. I know a lot of bonuses are based on like COGS, cost of goods sold, and if you hit this target, then you get your bonus, so they prioritize that.
Right.
Have you ever seen an example where, they're financially incentivized to make sure that the safety culture is there? Ever seen that? Hey, real quick, before we get into the answer to this next question, if you're interested in improving safety and reducing risk and you want to read more about it, then subscribe to our How Manufacturers Improve newsletter. It's always action-packed and features insights from industry leaders that you won't find anywhere else. Don't miss out. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe. It's free, it's actionable, and specifically for leaders in manufacturing that are looking for a better way. If that's you, subscribe today. All right, let's get back into it.
I've heard about that. I haven't been part of those conversations per se, but it's an excellent question. And what I have seen work, to your point, Kirby, is, and I suggest this with all my clients, I will do a work comp safety 101 with every frontline supervisor plus the entire leadership team. And so where we started the conversation about the different types of claims, and then now we're walking them through a real example of where they're at from an experience mod standpoint. What is their best case scenario? What is their worst case scenario? How does that financially impact the company? How does that take away from resources that we now can invest in our employees or equipment or different ventures that we're interested in? I think that really hits everything home. Again, kind of back to that point of knowledge is power, and we can't expect people to put priority into something that they don't really understand. So it's incumbent upon us, Zach and I, to really help them with that understanding piece. And then from there, it's easier for leadership to make decisions that are more geared towards driving safety.
Yeah, and I think a big thing on the safety culture piece is if you look at a typical claim, it's usually not just one big mistake. One big mistake and there's a claim. It's usually several small mistakes that lead up to whatever big happened, right? And it's those small mistakes that lead up to it is where, if you want to talk about culture, that's where it really improves it, right? So a big thing is when you do have a proactive safety culture within the workplace, those employees, when you have those small mistakes, people are more free to talk about them. That's the big thing that we see. So when you have that safety culture and say there is like a small mistake and the culture is closed-minded, people aren't afraid to speak up. They're not gonna bring it up to management, right? That, hey, so one big thing is we talk about the best companies that really look at this proactive safety culture. They record those near misses, not just claims. So imagine the company that has employees on the shop floor that are comfortable bringing up, hey, I almost chopped my finger, right? Or I almost had a bad accident here.
Yeah, like when the stamper, bender, you name it.
Exactly. So when you have a culture like that, where those employees on the shop floor, any department are comfortable bringing that up, that is where that change happens. It's there, not when the lathe comes down or they chop their finger off where they can record it. it goes back in time to those small mistakes. So I think the big thing there is when that culture is in place, people are more comfortable bringing it up, even if there is a mistake, right? Because it's usually those tiny little things that aren't recorded, then boom, something happens. And the last thing I just want to point out is it's over time, right? So I think culture, whether we're talking about safety, whether we're talking about a sports team or a company in general, culture isn't like a flip of a light switch. This, like Steve said, it happens top down, but people have to remember this is just something that slowly builds up, and culture isn't created overnight. So
yeah, those relatively small, quick wins can really build up over time.
Exactly.
100% agree with that, Zach. I'm so glad you brought that up, especially the part about being afraid to speak up.
Yeah,
I actually have mixed feelings about that metric board that you see usually right away when you walk in, and it's like 256 days since our last time incident. And I'm like, that's cool. Then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to be the guy. I don't want to be that guy that breaks the record. And so I think there's an element of being afraid to speak up that goes into that number. So I have really mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think it's a fair point. What I would say is there's two approaches to that. There's kind of the 1 foot in where, hey, we're just tracking lost time. And yes, we don't want anyone ever getting to a lost time claim. I'd kind of categorize that as 1 foot in. 2 feet in is we are all about protecting our employees. We are all about learning. So an example, and this has happened to me dozens of times, back to what Zach stated about near miss. So a new hire, and they're gonna be a lot of our frontline major claims in that first year. So a new hire puts their hand somewhere it shouldn't be, bypasses a guard, could have had a catastrophic injury, but didn't. So if you are an organization where you just kind of want to keep moving on and, hey, nothing happened, great. Well, you might not stop, say, hey, we've got some real education to do. Maybe we're missing with our new hire training. Maybe we're missing with our mentorship program. And let's just level set, and let's use this as a real learning opportunity to grow the entire organization. I think if you were coming at it from that 2 feet in, I don't think there's anything wrong with posting your results, with being proud about what you've accomplished because you're doing it the right way. But to your point, is every organization looking at it that way? Maybe not. And if you're not, is there potential danger? And we're trying to avoid this item that we've identified. And in order to do that, we're sweeping everything else under the rug. So you got to be 2 feet in if you're going to go with that approach.
Yep. I like it. I absolutely like it. Zach, anything you would add to that one?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. It just, it takes time. I think just having those employees on the shop floor or any department just being comfortable speaking up, because if that culture's not there and they're not comfortable bringing these things up, they're going to sweep it under the rug, like Steve said. And boom, you're going to have a bad one. And next thing you know, premiums go up and obviously claims go up. So,
right. Yeah. Okay, a couple more questions before I let you guys go here. What do you think is just the one action you want all the listeners to take away? You know, we get thousands and thousands of people that'll listen, and the most frequently asked question is, well, what was the one takeaway I should have? Because there's so many. So that's why I'm asking on behalf of all the listeners. What do you guys think?
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in. To me, it is near miss. And near miss can be tied to work comp. It can be tied to auto. It can be tied to cyber, property, general liability with a subcontractor of ours. It is, when done right, near miss is a free opportunity where we had no consequences. But let's not treat it as we had no consequences. Let's look at that incident as what was the worst case scenario if this would have gone sideways. And now let's brainstorm based off of that. Let's make priorities based off of that. Let's share communication based off of that. I think if companies do that, they are setting themselves up for success.
Mine would be just getting back to the cyber liability piece of things. Just request a cyber liability audit. from your, whether it's your IT provider or your insurance carrier. It's very simple. If you don't have, or even if you don't have a policy, go through the quoting process. They'll do a cyber audit for you to kind of show you where the vulnerabilities are, or just go through your IT provider. It's very simple. It costs nothing, and they don't want to. It helps the insurance carrier, it helps the IT provider too. They want to help you avoid it. So it's very simple. You could do it this afternoon. You could do it tomorrow, and it could save you a lot of pain in the future.
Yep. Appreciate that. Appreciate the nuggets. Okay, so then last question before I let you go, and I should have started here, but Zach and Steve, tell me a little bit about your background. How'd you get into the business that you're in, and what are the benefits of working with North Risk Partners?
Yeah, so I have been in commercial insurance for now 15 years. So a little bit about North Risk Partners. So we are a full service insurance agency. So we do the business insurance, the commercial insurance for the businesses. We have the employee benefits for the employees. We have over 450 employees spread across almost 30 office locations, 5-state footprint. I'd say that, the biggest benefit of working with North Risk, or the biggest difference we see, is that, we have the size and we have the capabilities and the scope to work with larger companies, larger manufacturers, but we also have the tools and HR and loss control. But we also combine that with, we do have that small town feel, right? So with our footprint across the 5 states, there's not a lot of insurance agencies in the Midwest that has our presence in the small communities. So we have the size and scope as any big broker, but we like to bring that local service like that small town agency. So
like it.
Yeah, so I've been in the space for 20 years. Zach and I lead the manufacturing vertical for us. I'm passionate about employee safety. I'm passionate about driving safety culture. And anytime I work with somebody, I tell them, look, I'm on the payroll. I'm part of the staff. And to me, what that means is you asked a lot of good questions about education and how these manufacturers are gathering this information and really understanding it. Well, that's our job. That's our world. And so we want to help deliver through education, through transparency, and then boots on the ground to help their internal team facilitate all their objectives.
Well, and there's no doubt in my mind that you have been very successful and you will continue to be very successful at that. So Zach and Steve, I really appreciate you guys talking to me about preventing claims that cost the most.
Thank you, Kirby.
Hey, appreciate it, Kirby. Thank you.
I'm Kirby Sneen with the Manufacturers Alliance, and this is the How Manufacturers Improve podcast. If you like learning these high-level best practices from experienced peers, and you want your team to be able to connect with people they can trust, see what's possible, and develop new lean and leadership skills when it works for them, go to mfrall.com or just click the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening.